Good afternoon. This is Reed Perkins. This is Science Shorts with Mr. Perkins. I'm a biology teacher. I'm running for state senate, and I'm trying to use this time to produce some short science videos using my own expertise for something that people can look at as the stay-at-home order is continuing. Little content to help teachers, parents, and students. To start with, we're going to talk about our experiment that we did on Friday. We made those at-home auger plates and then set them out for a while. So here you can see these white, that white bit there is that bacteria colony we made. You can see a couple others around this outside edge. And so that is the bacteria that is on your hand. Everybody has bacteria on their hand pretty much as well as you can possibly wash your hands. There's still going to be something left. Now, one thing to remember is 99% of all bacteria that's in the world is not harmful at all. So just because you have bacteria on your hand doesn't mean you're necessarily unsanitary or dirty. But it's a cool way to see it, cool way to make your own auger plates. And if you're ever curious, that the auger stuff that you normally see in petri dishes, that's pretty much just what we made. It's gelatin, it's some sugar, and it's some salt. It's really disgusting to taste it, but it is technically edible. If we can eat it, bacteria can eat it too. So that was Friday. We're going to start here Monday. Oops. All right, there. We start Monday, and it is, of course, May 4th, so May the 4th be with you. Happy Star Wars Day. This is relevant to today, to what we're going to talk about today, and I'll show you why. Because frequently, people seem to have the impression that science is clean white coats in a clean white lab, and that's just not what science almost ever looks like, nor is it who actually does science. So instead of spending today doing an explanation about science, I want to talk about scientists a little bit more. Especially when I was a high school teacher, I had a lot of students who had the impression that, because they were good at art or had a natural aptitude towards art, that means they couldn't be good scientists. And so I've got a couple examples here, and I would show these in the class all the time too. So this is other art that people have done with bacteria. The bacteria from our hand in the colonies that I showed you, it was white, but there's brown, yellow, and blue. And here's people using swabs of bacteria and growing those swabs in specific patterns to make, in this case, a koi fish. We've got a flower stretching across several petri dishes. And this one won several awards. This is incredible beyond words as far as I'm concerned. But that's the American Society for Microbiology, a group of people you would normally think of as clean white coats and clean white labs, doing some pretty impressive art. And then Nikon, the camera company, also hosts a competition every year called Small World. And photomicroscopy then is what they're looking at. So here's some microorganisms. This is a cross-section of a tulip bud. And this very gorgeous looking rainbow is crystallized caffeine. So if you had a cup of coffee this morning, please raise your glass to this absolutely gorgeous piece of art, which was taken through a microscope. So art is science as well. Athletics is science, same thing. I would have students who were athletes, particularly on the basketball team, who would feel that since they were athletes, that meant they weren't going to be scientists. They couldn't do that as well. And so I want to talk about a friend of mine who I met years and years ago, who ended up on this expedition team for the Rising Star Cave System. Here's the expedition team. This one in the hat is Lindsay. I've known her for years. And you can't tell because of this picture, but I will tell you that nobody in this picture is above about 5'3". And the reasoning for that is this is the Rising Star Cave System. These are the fossils they were digging out here at the end. And This right here, what was called the Superman's crawl, is a passage that got down to 7 inches wide. So they were spelunking through this and squeezing through an incredibly tight passage, getting through into this chamber and then down a 39-foot vertical shaft into where the fossils actually were. This is an incredible athletic feat in order to fit yourself through here and safely ascend and descend through this cave system. But if you don't have people who are capable of doing that, you can't get to this fossil site. Here's another picture of Lindsay in the cave system itself. And this is an incredible athletic feat to pull this off. Science is not just done in clean white labs. When we look at field work, you better be comfortable camping and you better be comfortable getting mud on you. That's part of the job, and it always shocked me that people who loved those things felt like, well, that's not science, and I'm here to tell you today that it is. And then finally, writing is science. And again, kids who are great at English would think, oh, well, because I'm good at this subject, it means I can't be good at science. And so I just want to focus on 4 books here that I certainly really enjoy, and then getting back to our theme today. What Really Happens If You Get Swallowed by a Whale, Are Shot from a Cannon, or Go Barreling Over Niagara. The title of this book is And Then You're Dead. Written by Cody Cassidy and Paul Doherty. It's science. It's a what if book, and it goes through a series of scientific scenarios and explains, in using proper science, what would happen to you in those situations. It's a very funny book, but it's also very good science. But making it accessible in that way is so important, that people can approach science and don't feel alienated from it. Also very good at this, an author named Mary Roach. I've highlighted Packing for Mars. She has several other ones. Stiff and Gulp are 2 of her other books. And she is somebody who, again, writes very approachably and researches these subjects and then talks about what would go into an actual expedition to Mars where we set humans to live there. Jules Verne, classic. So the other 3 books here are all nonfiction. Jules Verne is your classic fiction author. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is another example. And science fiction, and that's why I put May the 4th be with you on our opening slide today. It is amazing the amount of times something is explored in science fiction before it is explored in the real world. People have these ideas and they can write about them and inspire other people. Every scientist I know will talk to you about Star Wars or Star Trek. And those links, that early passion driving people, is so important. So authors like Jules Verne or Isaac Asimov, that inspiration with science is so important. And so we need that. We need people to look at it from an artistic point of view. And lastly, this is a personal book to me, The Botany of Desire, A Plant's Eye View of the World. This is a book that I read back in high school and really helped inspire me towards the idea that science was this great, amazing thing. I won't go into too many details about it. I love it. Michael Pollan, great author. But again, that idea of making science accessible and interesting is not something every scientist can do. Trust me, I've talked to a lot of them. Making certain that science is fun, making certain that science is understandable is vital, and we need good writers in order to do that. Which actually brings us to the last little piece about how writing is science. If you've ever read a scientific paper, or sometimes if you've had to present a lab report, the first piece of a lab report is always what's called the abstract. It's only supposed to be about a paragraph, and in that paragraph, you summarize what's in the whole paper. But because it's a paragraph, you can't go into detail, and that means that you have to use scientific jargon a lot of the time. And that can make it, for people who are not in that scientific field, reading that abstract can be dense, unapproachable, uninteresting, and therefore they're not going to go for the rest of the information in the paper. So, and this is recent. I only started seeing this push in about the last mid-2010s. but the idea of a layman's abstract as well. So not just should the paper be able to describe what's in the paper, but the paper needs to also describe what it learned in terms that everyone can understand. Making certain science is approachable and understandable is very important and not always easy. So writing is science. Please never think that just because you have one passion and society will tell you, oh, whoops, you can't have that and be a scientist. Trust me, you can. Everyone can be a scientist. Art is science, athletics is science, writing is science. It's all science. There's a spot for you in the scientific world. So thank you. Hope you enjoyed some of those examples. Happy May 4th as well. Please wash your hands. Wednesday we've got another submitted question. We're going to be talking about plants. We haven't done a lot of talk about plants yet, and I'll give you the question now as a teaser to kind of think about it. And that's, plants get nutrients through the roots, but plants have leaves. However, plants don't have a heart or any circulatory system. So how does a plant get nutrients from the roots up to the highest leaves in the plant? How is it able to do that? It's a great question. We are going to talk about it on Wednesday. We don't have a Perkins puzzler currently because last Wednesday I assumed things were going to be done. So we're starting fresh. New Perkins puzzler. Turn me on my side and I am everything. Cut me in half and I am nothing. What am I? So we'll talk about that along with plants on Wednesday. Thank you very much. There I am. Thank you very much. Hope you're staying safe. Hope you're staying sane. I hope quarantine is continuing to pass well for you. And I will see you again on Wednesday. Thank you.